2. On today's show, yes, Luka Doncic is out for at least a week with a wrist injury. Who has to step up the most in his absence? We'll talk about that and more in today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
We have
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. Subscribe to our free Locked On Mavs newsletter. Check the QR code for a way to keep us the #1 newsletter in all of Locked On. That's right, the lowly Mavs. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. And joining me, friend of the show, the host of the DLLS Mavs podcast, great Kevin Gray. What you got for me?
I need this song as like my walkout music wherever I go.
You like the new intro?
I like this. Like, I got my head bopping a little bit. I was like, okay, all right, I can get with this. Like, let it ride a little bit. Okay. Yeah, I like this.
Oh, we
bass in there too.
we just woke up the comment section. They had been quiet about the intro for a while. Since I changed it, there have been many people upset, but we had to.
They don't like it?
No, a lot of people don't like it, but they don't like change. They don't like change, and that's okay. But we had to change it to go on TV. We're on KFAA right now, so shout out to anybody that is watching on KFAA, and yeah, we're on everywhere. So subscribe. Today's episode, we're getting into Luka Doncic. He's going to be out for a week, but it gives us an opportunity to look at some players who need to step up if Luka's going to miss some time, and it could be longer than a week. So let's start here, Kevin Gray. The Dallas Mavericks announced today that an MRI revealed a right wrist sprain for guard Luka Doncic. Doncic sustained injury during the Mavs game against the quote-unquote New Orleans Pelicans on Tuesday, and Luka will be reevaluated within a week. First of all, this is just how the season has gone so far, that Luka comes back for that game against the Pelicans. They didn't really need him at all, and then he gets hurt in that game against a team that's not really a basketball team because of how many injuries the Pelicans have had. And now he's going to be out for a week. It just seems like the Mavs' luck right now so far this season.
Yeah, I thought the win against the Thunder kind of bought them some time to think, okay, let's go back home before we go to Denver on Friday. We'll let him rest there and then have him ready for the game against Denver, because you were able to get a nice win on the road against the Thunder. PJ Washington was fantastic. And against a Pelicans team that, a quote-unquote Pelicans team, as you mentioned, with no one in sight that you recognize on their team hardly.
It's just respectful to them, right? Because you can't just keep saying it's the Pelicans, because it's not. They started
really
Elfrid Payton the other day. Elfrid Payton, Kevin.
He's back in the league?
He started for that the other day.
The Pelicans are so down bad. Like, I don't want to laugh at them, but they are down bad.
You can't. It's bad. But season from hell.
No, really, it is kind of like the Cowboys, but whatever. But at the same time, yeah, I thought that maybe you could rest Luka against the Pelicans and get him ready for Friday against the Nuggets, but that was not the case. He played okay. I mean, the Mavericks won by 41 points, so shout out to Dirk.
Great.
But at the same time, now you're dealing with yet another injury, and this has been a season so far for him, whether it's a knee contusion or the calf injury before the season started. And now the wrist injuries that's going to keep him out at least a week. It just felt like as this team was just about to start getting some rhythm after a 4-game losing streak, you win 3 in a row, you're starting to feel good. The vibes are starting to pick up a little bit, that you can gain some consistency going forward here. And now their superstar is going to be out for at least a week. So it doesn't feel like this team is able to get the kind of traction even through the first 15 games of the season that they were hoping for. Based on what you needed to do in the West at this point.
They can't get traction as a team, but I think some guys could get going. So we'll talk about some of those a little bit later. But just for Luka himself and for the team now, so a wrist injury is not super concerning, right? That's not something that I'm looking at going, oh, it's the same as, calf strain, and I'm worried about it throughout the rest of the year. Our friend Jeff Stotts, who's at In Street Clothes on Twitter and a bunch of places, he said, keyword is sprain, indicating the injury occurred to one of the many ligaments in the wrist. There's a high degree of variability in these types of injuries. However, the average time lost for a nondescript in-season wrist sprain is 5.9 days. So about 2 games. So they're keeping him for a week, which is about right. Maybe it's a little more serious than some others, but keeping him out for a week. Honestly, Kevin, I don't know where you stand on this, but for me, he probably needs a little more time because his knees and legs, like it was not right. And you could tell throughout the beginning of this season. And so maybe this buys him a little bit more rest.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if you're looking for any kind of silver lining,
I am.
With I mean, if you are, which you clearly are, yeah, he'll be able to rest his body a little bit, and hopefully when he comes back, the legs will be fresher. Obviously, the wrist will be healed up, and he can finally, as Jason Kidd kind of talked about it, kind of be clean for the rest of the year and really get this thing rolling. Because the way that the West is playing right now, you can't find yourself having multiple, 2 and 3 game losing streaks. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in an uphill climb for a real majority of this season. But, for Luka, hopefully he'll be able to get back quickly, but also be healthy for a good portion of the remainder of the season, because they're going to need him, obviously, to try to have the season that they're hoping to have.
Yeah, you're not gonna learn a lot about the Mavs as a whole in this upcoming stretch of games, right? Like, I'm not gonna take any huge opinions or takes from any of this because it's not the team without Luka, right? So many things are built around him, and we've been talking about the whole beginning of the season. He has not been his MVP level self, and so we still can't evaluate this team as like they're fully constructed. That's it. Let's make some trades now because they're not good enough, right? We haven't seen that team yet, and so now again for like another week, we're gonna have to say the same thing because he's gonna be out.
And I'll push back a little bit because I feel like, and we'll obviously get into some of those players, but there's opportunities for guys like Quentin Grimes, like Jaden Hardy, and others to be able to show that during this time without Luka, that they can handle a little bit bigger role and responsibility, so that by the time Luka comes back, you have that much more trust and confidence in those guys to be able to play well in the roles that they're going to be asked to play once Luka is healthy. So I feel like there's a real chance for a lot of guys to really get together some good games that you can feel good about them when you get deeper into the season, hopefully into the playoffs, about, hey, I can trust Jaden, I can trust Quinn, I can trust these guys in certain situations when Luka is there and fully healthy for this team. So we'll see how those guys take that opportunity here, I guess.
Next couple of games for the Mavericks, if we just want to look at the schedule. Today, if you're listening to this on Friday, they play at the Nuggets, which is a game that they kind of, I think, had circled because they had lost before that. I know Kyrie had mentioned that game. They had lost the Nuggets already. In that clutch, another clutch loss.
That's
Aaron
right.
Gordon is going to be out for that game for the Nuggets. And then Nikola Jokic, story about him is he's been out for the last 3 games, and he also missed practice on Thursday for the Nuggets. And so we're not sure the status of him. He's been out with personal reasons. Some people have speculated that his wife had triplets or had kids or something like that. I don't know what's going on with him.
Wow.
And I think I've also seen people say, like, we're not asking because it's a personal matter to him. So whatever it is for Jokic, it seems like he may not play. He's listed as questionable right now. But we'll see. If Jokic is not playing, that's a different Denver Nuggets team, like entirely. It becomes one of those, like, I wouldn't say like a must win. It wasn't as must win as like the New Orleans or that Spurs game without Wemby, where you're just like, if this team does not beat this team with the roster, the talent that they have. But it is a game where you're like, all right, that's a more winnable game. That's a game that you should go in and take care of business.
Yeah, and obviously you wish you had Luka to be able to try and do that, but at the same time, the way that the Mavericks were able to play, especially against the Thunder, you've got size, you've got some quickness with some guys, like Lively, and especially in the open floor, that hopefully you can take advantage of some of that. I mean, Denver may try to get you into a track meet and get you up and down the floor. I think the score of the game that they played, 10, 12 days ago was like 122 to 120. So it was a very high scoring game, getting up and down. Denver made some threes in that game. Michael Porter Jr. was good in the first half, not great in the second half. In fact, the bucket that he scored to give them the lead, with less than 7 seconds left, was his only bucket in the second half against the Mavericks. So they did a good job of bottling him up until that point. But at the same time, you've got formulas and paths to beat a Nuggets team as you begin this road trip.
It's a lot of Dario Saric. It's a lot of Dario Saric on that Nuggets team with him out. Dario Saric, you're going to see a lot of Westbrook. It's going to be a lot of that.
Christian Brown's been playing real well for them. These guys that I really like for them. He's been playing really well with this year for them.
Those are the good players for them. I was talking about the ones where you're like, this is the players stepping up for the Nuggets right now. Oof,
That's right, exactly.
And so it's Denver, which that is an NBA Cup game too. That's something that we should mention as well. This game on Friday. And so that one is notable. And then they play a travel back-to-back, Miami and Atlanta. Those will be both without Luka. Those 2 games are interesting because it's a back-to-back. We'll see what happens. Those two teams have been frisky, but they have not been like good necessarily yet this season. And then they play home against the Knicks. That team's Offense has been really awesome, but they haven't like hit the highs that we thought that Knicks team with that level of talent have hit. I think the Mavs offense is going to struggle to keep up with that Knicks team, but we'll see what happens. It'll be a good test for them.
Yeah, they got 7 of their next 9 games on the road. So against some teams that you look at and say, well, you got Portland in there. You mentioned Miami, Atlanta. You've got some games that you feel are very winnable for you to be able to stack up while you're away from the American Airlines Center. But at the same time, you got to go out and execute. Fortunately for the Mavericks, they've been whooping up on bad teams and not so good against good teams. This stretch, you're going to see a lot of quote-unquote bad teams. So You've got to take advantage of that if you're the Mavericks who have been able to do that so far through the other portion or early portion of the year, I should say.
So if you're bummed out about Luka's injury, 2 silver linings since Kevin mentioned that if you want to take something positive, I do. Here's the positive. Luka gets a little bit more rest for his lower leg injuries that have been plaguing him even back to last season. Hopefully that helps him a little. And then your schedule is pretty soft. That Knicks team is tough, but Denver without Jokic possibly, definitely without Gordon, Miami, Atlanta, those are not super tough opponents. And then Luka could be back Saturday against the Jazz. Then it's Jazz, Portland, injured Memphis team, Washington Wizards, and Toronto. That's a that's the road schedule Kevin just talked about, but it is pretty soft. And so coming up, let's talk about in that soft schedule or in the schedule coming up, who has an opportunity to step up the most, who needs to step up the most. Let's talk about all that and more coming up.
You don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Chime. Yes, the same sponsor of the Dallas Mavericks is the sponsor of Locked On. Chime is there for you when you have you need banking, you need to put your money somewhere, but you're so frustrated with all the different ways that people have banked before and taken advantage of you. Chime helps you make progress with fee-free overdraft protection up to $200. If you ever had one of those where, it's just a mistake, I paid for something right before I was about to get paid, or the check didn't clear, or hadn't processed or whatever, and you overdraft, I hate that. And then you get charged a fee. So you get charged money for not having money, which just puts you in a hole deeper and deeper till eventually you just feed all the way out and you don't bank there anymore. Chime will help you out with that. They'll also get you spotted on debit card and purchases and cash withdrawals. They have no monthly fees or maintenance fees as well. So you're not getting fees on overdraft, not getting fees at all. Over 50,000 fee-free ATMs as well. No fees on there either. There's not a fee company. Eligible members can get complimentary boost to temporarily increase a friend's spot me limit. If you go check out the Chime has spotted members $30 billion and you give friends a boost. So go check that out on Chime. Make your fall finances a little greener by working towards your financial goals with Chime. Open an account in just 2 minutes. Very quick. Not going to take a long time. 2 minutes at chime.com/NBA. Again, chime.com/NBA. Chime feels like progress. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA to get all kinds of different tickets to things, places. Kevin and I were talking about our beloved Dallas Wings. I used Game Time a bunch to go see the Dallas Wings last year, and it was awesome. They have a bunch of different things. Right now, they've got the Giants at the Cowboys. You can get into the door for $31. How about that? Get in the Cowboys game for $30. Also, Mariah Carey, you can go see her. Actually, that's on Thursday. You missed that one. You missed it because you weren't on Game Time. Justin Timberlake concert, all kinds of different things happening in the Metroplex, but you can also see what is happening in your area if you don't live here as well. And Game Time will have you covered with all kinds of different things. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem that code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
I'm not playing. I'm watching, just like you guys.
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. Appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. Again, check the QR code for different ways that you can follow the show. We got our newsletter. It's free, sent straight to your inbox every day. We're sending you stuff. You're also getting stuff from Katie Heindel, great NBA writer, as well as the guy that writes basketball poetry, that great Substack. We'll send you stuff. And the great Josh Lloyd, sending you fantasy news every single day into your inbox. And it helps us stay ahead of David Locke and Matt George, who are chasing us down for number one newsletter subscriptions and Locked On. I just want to beat them, both of them, specifically them too. I want to beat them. All right, we're here with Kevin Gray from DLS Mavs. And Kevin, we were talking about Luka's injury so much, it reminded me of one of the greatest drops in Mavs history that I put to the side a little bit, and I think it's time to bring it back.
I'm not a doctor, so I don't know.
Oh man, I mean, I appreciate the honesty. Like, yeah, I'm not a doctor, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn last night.
Anybody ask Jason Kidd about Luka's injury, he may respond.
I'm not a doctor, so I don't know.
Jason Kidd just reads. I like his pregame press conferences. He literally just reads what's on the paper. Luka Doncic, wrist out. Dante Exum, wrist out. Everybody else playing. All right, Jason, we got it. Thanks.
He's like, that's all I got. I can't answer any more questions. I think he just doesn't want to answer injury questions. So he's like, all I've got is what's written on this paper. I went to the medical staff or whatever, and they told me what to write down. He literally writes it down like on a scrap of paper.
Yes, this is what they told me to say.
It is great. I appreciate the accuracy and the succinctness, I guess, and that he comes out with it right up top.
That's right.
Let's talk about who needs to step up with Luka out. I want to start with Kyrie Irving because it's now like quote unquote his team for the next week. We already saw him lead the Mavs to a win against the Thunder. I thought that he did a great job of leading and being a guy that just did anything that you need in that game. He facilitated a bunch of that game. He let PJ Washington do his thing. He also, he just supported everybody else around him, I thought, and tried to play good defense. Man, he could not defend SGA. SGA just destroys in the mid-range. It's wild to watch how good
that's what PJ's for. That's what PJ's
It's wild to watch how good he's become. But I think Kyrie did a great job everywhere else on defense. But with him out, with Luka out now, what do you want to see from Kyrie over the next week?
Yeah, I think from Kai, it's just about the aggressiveness. I know, and we all know that he likes to let the game come to him. But at the same time, he's going to have to set the tone for the Mavericks offensively, whether that's going after his own shot early on, being a distributor, getting guys involved early, to be able to have everyone on the same page. But he's got to be the tone setter on that end of the floor. I mean, he's averaging over 24 points per game. He's shot over 50% from three for majority of the season. Like, he's been fantastic for them. Like, he's playing at an all-star level. Like, he would be an all-star for me based off the way he's played through the first 15 games of the year. That's how good he's been. But he's got to be the one that is leading the charge offensively, and then everyone else feeding off of his energy based on what he's doing on that end of the floor. So I think I don't have necessarily concerns about Kai. The only one would be, hey, man, go set the tone early, be aggressive offensively, and be able to put the team on your back and go from there.
The thing about his role is it's going to be the same that it's been. I don't know that he comes out the same way Luka does and just tries to go off in the first quarter. We saw this in the Thunder game. He didn't take a shot until like 4:30 left in the first quarter of that game. He just let everybody he let everybody take advantage of the mismatches that they had, and PJ was the one doing that a lot. But for him, he just anytime they need, all right, go off. So in the third quarter, he took off a little bit, got some points. Fourth quarter, same thing, got his stuff done. He's been so efficient this season. He's averaging almost 3 less shots per game and averaging only 1 less point per game than last year.
I mean, that's
efficiency.
That's efficiency. It's just a credit to how talented of a player is and how well he's been playing so far this year. They're going to need that over the next week from him for sure to continue the momentum here.
So his role, though, I don't think changes that much. He's averaging like 17 shots a game. Give me 20, 22, 23, right? Like, I think that's the only thing that changes for him. The guys that I think it changes for, I want to talk about Klay Thompson here. Klay Thompson, I think, has an opportunity to step up and fill some of that scoring role, or you at least think that he would be in position to fill some of that scoring role. The hard part for him is we haven't really seen him create his own shot that often. He'll give you the little post-up turnaround. He'll give you the attack a closeout kind of thing, but maybe the Mavs will just need a bunch of those from him, but there's not a lot of like handle, like go one-on-one against somebody and get to the rim, which wasn't a big part of his game before. But I'm interested to see how he creates offense if Luka's not there, because he's been so tied to Luka so far this season.
Yeah, and that's a terrific point. And that's what I was going to say is that, the amount of attention that both Luka and Kyrie create to allow Klay Thompson to have the open shots that he's getting, you're going to have a little bit less of that. And I'm sure teams will look at Klay and say, look, we'll stay home on you a little bit more because there's a guy that's not there that's going to be able to create nearly as much as you have these open looks. So I think Klay, what he has to do is just be efficient in the shots that he's going to get. He's still going to get plenty of good looks, but he's got to be able to knock them down at a rate that makes teams respect him, obviously for what he's capable of as a shooter. Like, what he did against Oklahoma City, he went 1 of 8 from the 3-point line, 1 of 9, 1 of 10 overall. It's not going to cut it, but he bounced back nicely against the Pelicans, knocked down 5 threes, and felt a lot more comfortable. Exactly, the Pelicans. And felt a lot more comfortable, it looked like on the floor. So as long as he's knocking down the shots that he's going to get, I think that will allow him, because I don't want him to do too much. I don't want him to feel like he has to get outside of himself because Luka isn't necessarily, and I don't think he will, but he's got to be efficient with the shots that he's going to get and knock them down at a decent rate.
Yeah, it was a little concerning, but they still beat the Thunder with him shooting 1 of 11 from the field,
which is awesome.
1 of 8
like,
from 3. It's like, all right, if they get Klay actually hitting some shots, then they got a way better opportunity to win some of these games if everything else goes right. Now, you're not going to get 27 points, 17 rebound PJ Washington game every time. So for Klay, I'm looking at, if you look at the next 4 games, Denver, Miami, Atlanta, New York, 2 out of those 4 games, I need Klay to give me like 20 something, right? I have really good games in 2 of those. That's what I'm asking. The consistency, give me 50%, right?
Yeah. I'm good with that. I'm sorry. I was thinking maybe 17 to 20 for me. 17 to 20. If he's making 4 or 5 threes in those games, I can live with that. Like, I can definitely live with that. If he gives me a 22, 24-point game, like he had 22 against San Antonio on opening night, knocked down 6 threes. Okay, cool. If I can get a few of those games, yeah, I could definitely live with that.
Yeah, but he does have to step up a little bit. He's averaging 14 a game, and they're going to need more with Luka out. You're just missing a ton of playmaking. You're missing a lot of extra buckets and things like that. And so I think Klay has an opportunity to step up here, and I think Klay has an opportunity to get more shots than he has in some games, right?
Yeah.
And I think I'm curious to see how that works, and I'm curious to see how how Klay and Kyrie play off each other, because it has not gone super well for them so far. That lineup hasn't been super great. But Klay has been good for the offense. We talked about it yesterday, how good he's been. When he's on the floor, the Mavs offense is 120 points per 100 possessions, no matter if Luka is playing or not, which has been awesome. So yeah, give us a little bit more Klay, but I think there are a couple other players that need to step up for the Dallas Mavericks. So coming up, let's get into PJ Washington. Let's talk about the guards, Jaden Hardy, Spencer Dinwiddie, even talk about some of those guys. What have we seen from them, and what do we want to see from them with Luka being out? Talk about all that and more coming up.
You don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.2% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood Gold or Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
I'm not a doctor, so I don't know.
I just love that one so much.
Any reason to play that drop is good.
Yeah. All right, Kevin, let's get into some more players we think need to step up with Luka Doncic being out for the next week. Let's talk about PJ Washington. He was the guy that stepped up in a huge way in that Thunder game that Luka missed, the only game he's missed so far this season. And I think against this Nuggets team, he has the same kind of opportunity. No Aaron Gordon. You've maybe got no Jokic. I think he's got the same opportunity against the Thunder he's going to have against this team, because he's going to be playing Dario Saric. He's going to be playing smaller lineups, and he takes advantage of those smaller lineups, even not as the 5, but as the 4 to get a bunch of boards, to post up against smaller guys and things like that. I think PJ has a big opportunity right now.
Yeah, that's become one of my favorite parts of watching PJ's game grow, is him getting on the block and taking advantage of his size when he has those mismatches and being able to finish, whether it be with the float game or obviously finishing on the baseline, finishing over defenders. So, but his rebounding and versatility is going to be huge for this team. If Gafford and Lively can stay out of foul trouble and remain on the floor, the size advantage that they have, along with PJ Washington and his relentlessness on the boards, whether it be offensively or defensively, I think is going to be huge. I think that's where the Mavericks can really take advantage of some of these teams, is imposing their will with their size and physicality. And PJ Washington is kind of the personification of that on both ends of the floor, because as well as he scored against the Thunder with the 27 points that he had, his defense on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was fantastic. I mean, you've seen the second spectrum numbers with only giving up 2 points and 25 possessions in the half court against him when he was defending him. So he's got the most important job on the floor and guarding every team's best player every single night. And then on top of that, he's got to go get, 7, 8 rebounds, got to give me 14, 15 points. PJ has become, arguably, we've talked about this on our show, probably the most indispensable player on this team just because of the amount of different things that he can do based off of what his capabilities are. And that's why they missed him so much when he missed those games, with the knee injury. So PJ, I think he's got a chance to step up big in these games for sure.
Yeah, having him and Lively together, it just gives you such a backbone, right? Like they're just so much better with those two together and playing than when those guys aren't. And then obviously with Gafford as well, having 48 minutes of centers plus a big four, so all of a sudden your rotation just really shapes up nicely and it works for you. Denver is probably going to play a little bit smaller. Miami has Bam, but then other than that, they don't play very big. They don't play very big fours either. And so that's an opportunity for PJ, I think. Atlanta, kind of the same thing. They've got Capella, who's older, and then they have a Kongwu who's like 6'8", who's really small. So they have some, and they don't play really big fours either. So big opportunity for PJ. Same thing with New York. Cat is down low. They don't really have any other centers besides him. And so he has got a big opportunity the next couple of games, whether Luka was playing or not. But then now with Luka out, he's got a chance to step up here. Anything for Naji Marshall, because he has kind of become another playmaker for the Mavericks. He gets downhill. He hasn't taken a lot of threes, but he'll drive and he'll get to the rim, and that's something that we've seen from him. And I'm kind of curious to see how he can step up a little bit here and there.
Yeah, Naji with double-digit points in 3 out of his last 4 games. All 15 of his points came against the Pelicans in the second half of their game, and it feels like he's getting much more comfortable in his role. He's got this kind of, I want to see how you feel about it. He's got kind of this herky-jerky style to his game a little bit. It's a little unorthodox, but he gets the job done. He's got a nice little floater game, as well, aggressive in attacking the rim, especially in transition. So if Naji can start knocking down some threes, I think that really changes the complexion of how that second unit can look with him, handling the ball a little bit, obviously with the versatility he can do on the defensive end. Because right now I think he's shooting 13-14% from three so far this year, which is not great at all. So if he can start knocking down the 3-point shot a little bit better, then it can really change some things for Dallas. You know what he is? He's a zebra, and not like a referee, but zebras, when they run away from predators like a lion or something in the savannah, they'll run in a zigzag pattern. Like they don't just try to run straight, And Naji Marshall will drive in a zigzag pattern down the lane. He'll go right, he'll go left, he'll go back. It's like, he zebras right through it. And so that's what he is. That's good. I didn't know it was going to get Animal Kingdom references on here. That's good. I had to look up which animal it was. I'm not going to lie, I couldn't remember. And then I got all this stuff about running away from an alligator. I'm like, that's not a good analogy. No, let me dig a little deeper right here. Go land animals. Dig deeper. Yeah, that's taking me all the way back to my my Kratz Creatures days growing up as a PBS kid. Oh, Kratz. Yeah, right. Learned a lot about animals. The last two guys I think that will have to step up is Jaden Hardy and Spencer Dinwiddie. Hardy has kind of taken all the guard minutes, like the backup guard minutes, away from Dinwiddie for good cause. But I'm curious to see how Hardy will step up. He's shooting 25% from three. He has not had like a good stretch of shooting the three ball well. He's been better at driving to the rim. We saw that against OKC. He really took advantage of their small guys at the rim. Just like we said about PJ, I think he's got an opportunity to drive more, to get more, penetration, and to do that. And so I'm curious how Hardy's going to do in the next 4 games. Yeah, Hardy's getting a little bit more comfortable as well. As long as he's not making mistakes in terms of the decision making, he's got to be a little bit of a playmaker. The shots will come to him, but if he's aggressive attacking the rim, making some plays for himself and some other guys, I think that's where he can really be able to handle himself as part of that bench unit as well there. The other one is Dinwiddie. I was excited about Dinwiddie, and the Mavericks, at least the reported rumor was that they thought he was going to be a spot starter and a 6-man, and I talked him up and slightly tried to talk me out of it. And man, he has just not been good so far. And I thought that maybe leaving the Lakers, because he did not look good for the Lakers, but I thought leaving the Lakers and coming back to the role that worked for him, he just doesn't even look like he wants to attack at all. Even in that Thunder game where he played, decently well, and he hit those threes that were really big in that game. He wasn't driving. He wasn't trying to go north south the way that we were used to Spencer Dinwiddie. We're like, oh, at least he can drive and finish, and he's going to give us some threes now because randomly he shoots well from 3 when he plays for the Dallas Mavericks. But we just haven't seen anything that great from him so far this season, except for some threes. My man couldn't even get off the floor, off the bench in the 41-point beatdown of the Pelicans. Felt like a choice. Felt like a choice there. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of guys that got out in front of him, but I mean, they'll need him at times throughout the course of this year. And I don't know if his body's not necessarily allowing him to be the kind of attacker downhill that we've known him to be in years past, or what. But yeah, there's not feeling too good right now about the Smoothie King right now. Just saying.
We need to all go to a juice land and like stand in a circle, do like some kind of seance, and maybe it'll awaken Spencer Dinwiddie's powers.
A prayer circle with smoothies.
Yeah, we'll take the protein powder and sprinkle it around the drink. We'll put everything in it.
That's right.
We'll send a prayer up to the Juice Land gods, and then maybe.
That's right.
Do we know if he's gotten Juice Land? I haven't seen a picture with him. Maybe he just doesn't have his superpower, like his.
I think it's like the
Michael's secret stuff.
Season or something. He may have had the smoothies or something. I don't know, man.
We need to get him one. Maybe we should just get everyone to bring him one somehow.
Should have like a smoothie night at the American Airlines Center. Like everyone gets a smoothie and just like, you know.
Honestly, they should have a Juice Land like section in the American. Like that would be awesome if they sold Juice Land there. I would go buy that too much.
I probably would too. I probably would too.
Juice Land at the American Airlines Center.
You're probably right. Yeah,
I would buy that. Instead we have 7-Eleven Slurpees.
Could be worse.
What's worse than that?
A Rooster Booster from Quick Trip.
Ooh. What is that?
It's like a slushy type of drink you can get from there.
Yeah,
Rooster Booster.
I'm not about it. As a kid though, I did like the Coke. I did like the Coke or the cherry Coke.
You were a vanilla
ones,
Coke
yeah.
guy.
Those were great. Those were great for sure.
Well.
All right, in the comment section on YouTube, let us know what you want in the American Airlines Center. Send it up
what kind of food do you want?
Do you want Juice Land? Do you want a Slurpee? What do you want from the American Airlines?
You want a Rooster Booster? From
I just discovered
Slurpee.
what that is. Go check out DLLS. They're doing great stuff over there. We want to be better than them. We want to always to beat them down, but we're friends with all of them. And I want everyone to know that. I want everyone to know that.
Beat the brakes smooth off of Locked On Mavericks every time we see them. It's all love though, with all due respect.
So if you listen to them, you have to at least listen to us to equal it out.
Jump in each other's chats. You all become friends. Like we're all one big Mavs happy family. Almost said that one person, but at the same time, we're all big one happy family here. It's, from Mavs land.
No, great stuff over there from our friends, and yeah, check out the show tomorrow. We'll be back with a post game. Slightly and I will have the post game for the Nuggets game, win or lose, if Luka plays or not, or if Jokic plays or not. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out.